Welcome to the Shadows of the South. Hello, fellow explorers, and welcome back to another spine-tingling journey through the world of the unknown. If you're new to our channel, allow me to introduce you to the realm we call home, a sanctuary for those who dare to delve into the dark corners of history, the whispers of forgotten legends, and the unsettling allure of places where the veil between worlds grows thin. Tonight, we're venturing deep into the heart of the American South, where the air is thick with humidity, magnolia-scented breezes, and the lingering echoes of a painful past. The South is a land of contradictions, a place where grandeur and tragedy coexist, where antebellum mansions stand as monuments to a bygone era, and where the shadows of history refuse to fade. These sprawling plantations, once symbols of wealth and power, now serve as haunting reminders of a darker chapter in American history. But beyond the crumbling columns and overgrown gardens lies something even more unsettling: tales of restless spirits, unexplained phenomena, and the dark secrets buried beneath generations of Southern charm. Tonight, we'll explore the top 10 haunted plantations in the South, each with its own unique blend of history, tragedy, and the supernatural. From the blood-stained floors of Louisiana's Myrtles Plantation to the vengeful whispers of Butler Island Plantation, these locations are steeped in stories that will chill you to the bone. Whether it's the ghostly cries of enslaved workers, the apparitions of tragic lovers, or the lingering presence of vengeful spirits, these plantations are more than just relics of the past. They are portals to the unknown. So, fasten your seatbelts, dim the lights, and brace yourself for the chilling stories of the South's most haunted plantations. The darkness awaits, and the tales are just beginning. Myrtles Plantation, the cursed home of Chloe and the tragic children. St. Francisville, Louisiana. Perched along the banks of the Mississippi River, Myrtles Plantation is a vision of antebellum elegance, with its white columned facade and sprawling magnolia trees. Built in 1796, the plantation was once a thriving hub of cotton production, owned by a series of wealthy families, including the infamous Woodruff clan. But beneath its picturesque exterior lies a history steeped in betrayal, murder, and the relentless grip of the supernatural. History and tragedy. The most infamous tale associated with Myrtles revolves around Chloe, an enslaved woman who worked in the Woodruff household. According to legend, Chloe was in a forbidden romantic relationship with Clark Woodruff, the plantation's owner. Desperate to secure her freedom and become his wife, Chloe allegedly poisoned Clark's wife, Sarah, and their 2 children, Eliza and Francis, with a strychnine-laced cake. However, her plan backfired. The children died alongside Sarah, and Chloe was brutally executed for her crime. Since then, Chloe's spirit has been said to haunt the plantation, her guilt and rage refusing to dissipate. Guests and staff report hearing the faint sound of a woman sobbing near the kitchen, where Chloe once worked. Others claim to smell lilac perfume, the fragrance Chloe was said to wear, wafting through the halls when no one is present. The Francis bedroom, named after one of the murdered children, is particularly notorious. Visitors described feeling the sensation of a child gently rocking them to sleep or seeing the faint outline of a young girl standing at the foot of the bed. Paranormal activity. Myrtles Plantation has become a hot spot for paranormal investigators. One of the most chilling accounts involves a photograph taken in the main hallway in 1977. The image reveals a blurred figure standing at the top of the staircase, a woman in a 19th century dress, believed to be Chloe. Guests staying in the Francis bedroom often report waking to find their belongings rearranged or hearing the faint sound of a piano playing in the dead of night, though no one has touched the instrument in decades. Whether Chloe's spirit truly lingers or the plantation simply carries the weight of its tragic history, one thing is certain: those who enter Myrtles do so at their own risk. Ormond Plantation, the Burning Bride's Cursed Estrahan, Louisiana. Nestled along the Mississippi River, Ormond Plantation is a stunning example of Creole architecture, with its red brick walls and sweeping oak-lined driveway. Built in 1804 by Jacques Telesphore Roman, the plantation was a center of indigo and sugar production. But it is not the estate's beauty that draws attention, it's the tragic tale of a bride who perished in flames and cursed the land. History and tragedy. The haunting is said to center around Marie Brune, a young bride who married into the Roman family. On the eve of her wedding, Marie was found dead in the grand ballroom, her wedding dress engulfed in flames. Some say she was pushed by a jealous rival. Others believe she set herself ablaze in despair after discovering her groom's infidelity. Whatever the cause, Marie's death left behind a legacy of terror. Visitors and staff report feeling a sudden drop in temperature in the ballroom, where Marie's ghost is said to wander in a tattered wedding gown. Some have described seeing the faint outline of a woman standing near the fireplace, only to vanish when approached. Others swear they've heard the sound of a woman screaming late at night, followed by the unmistakable scent of smoke. Paranormal Activity. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a tour guide who, during a late-night rehearsal, claimed to hear a woman's voice whispering his name from the ballroom. When he turned to investigate, he found the room empty but smelled burnt fabric lingering in the air. Today, Ormond Plantation is a popular destination for ghost hunters, many of whom have captured unexplained voices on audio recordings, including the phrase, "Don't let him marry her." Butler Island Plantation, the Voodoo Dolls Rathdarian, Georgia. Tucked away in the coastal marshes of Georgia, Butler Island Plantation is a remote, decaying relic of the South's plantation era. Originally established in the 1820s by Major Pierce Butler, the plantation was infamous for its brutal treatment of enslaved workers. But it is the legend of a voodoo doll buried beneath the estate that has made Butler Island a magnet for the paranormal. History and tragedy. Major Butler's wife, Fanny Kemble, was a British actress and abolitionist who documented the horrors of plantation life in her journals. After their divorce, Fanny returned to England, leaving behind a plantation steeped in suffering. Enslaved workers, desperate to escape their torment, turned to voodoo rituals to curse their oppressors. According to local lore, a voodoo priestess buried a doll filled with human hair and nails near the main house, invoking a curse that would doom the Butler family. The curse seemed to take hold. Within months of the doll's burial, Major Butler died under mysterious circumstances. His descendants soon followed, plagued by illness and misfortune. The plantation itself fell into ruin, its once thriving fields overtaken by the encroaching wilderness. Paranormal Activity. Visitors to Butler Island describe a palpable sense of dread as they approach the crumbling main house. Some claim to hear the sound of chains dragging through the overgrown grounds, while others report seeing a shadowy figure darting through the trees. Most unsettling is the doll-shaped indentation in the soil near the house, which reappears despite efforts to fill it in. Magnolia Plantation, the ghost of the garden. Charleston, South Carolina. Established in 1676, Magnolia Plantation is one of the oldest estates in the South, renowned for its breathtaking gardens and azalea-covered landscapes. But behind its floral splendor lies a history of heartbreak and loss that has left the plantation's grounds teeming with restless spirits. History and tragedy. The haunting is said to center around Margaret Alston, a young woman who died of a broken heart after her lover, Captain John Blake, perished in the Civil War. Margaret's grief-stricken spirit is said to wander the garden, her ghostly figure glimpsed in the early morning mist. Another haunting involves enslaved workers who labored on the plantation for generations. Their spirits are said to linger in the slave cabins, where visitors have reported hearing the faint sound of singing, spirituals passed down through the centuries. Paranormal Activity. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the smell of honeysuckle in areas where no flowers grow. Visitors also described shadowy figures moving through the garden and the sound of a woman weeping near the riverbank. In 2015, a paranormal team captured an of a child's voice saying, "Don't leave me," in one of the slave cabins. A haunting triptych-style composition of 3 southern haunted plantations under a twilight sky, bathed in moonlight and shadows. Left panel, Myrtle's Plantation in Louisiana, an elegant white-columned antebellum mansion surrounded by hanging Spanish moss and magnolia trees, with a ghostly woman in a green turban dress, Chloe, fading into the mist near the porch, and the faint silhouettes of 2 children by a window. Center panel, Ormond Plantation, a red-bricked Creole mansion with an oak-lined drive, glowing faintly in the dark. The ghost of a bride in a charred, tattered wedding gown stands near the ballroom window, smoke curling around her. Right panel, Butler Island Plantation, a crumbling Georgian estate overrun with swamp vines and fog. A voodoo doll-shaped indentation glows faintly in the soil near the house, while a shadowy figure looms between trees, barely visible. Overall tone, gothic, atmospheric, photorealistic with painterly lighting, using a palette of moonlit silver, muted green, smoky gray, and sepia undertones. Emotions: eerie, tragic, mysterious. St. Francisville, Louisiana. Rosedown Plantation, built in 1835, is a sprawling estate celebrated for its meticulously preserved gardens and Greek Revival architecture. But beneath its manicured lawns and elegant interiors lies a darker side, a tale of love, betrayal, and a ghostly figure who still roams the halls. History and tragedy: the haunting is tied to Catherine Duncan, the plantation's mistress, who discovered her husband's infidelity. In a fit of rage, she locked her husband and his lover in the wine cellar, leaving them to die of suffocation. Catherine reportedly went mad afterward, wandering the estate in a white gown, muttering about her sins. Paranormal activity: guests staying in the main house describe a woman in white appearing in mirrors before vanishing. Others report the sound of a woman sobbing in the wine cellar, where the couple was entombed. In 2008, a guest captured a photograph of a ghostly figure peering out of an upstairs window, though no one was present in the room. Shirley Plantation, the Wailing Child. Charles City, Virginia. America's oldest continuously operated plantation, Shirley Plantation has stood since 1613. Its federal-style mansion, surrounded by acres of tobacco fields, exudes timeless elegance. But beneath its polished floors and grand chandeliers lies a chilling secret: the ghost of a child who never left. History and tragedy: the haunting centers around a young boy who drowned in the James River during the 18th century. His body was recovered and buried on the plantation grounds, but his spirit is said to linger, forever searching for his lost parents. Paranormal activity: visitors to Shirley Plantation often report hearing the sound of a child crying near the riverbank. Some have claimed to see a small boy's shadow darting through the halls at night, only to disappear when approached. The nursery, long sealed off, is said to be the epicenter of the haunting, with tour guides refusing to enter after dark. Butler Green Plantation, a haunting legacy nestled among the dense marshlands of Darien, Georgia. Butler Green Plantation stands as a solemn remnant of a bygone era, its crumbling brick walls draped in thick veils of Spanish moss. Once part of the vast Butler Island estate, the plantation was among the many grand holdings of the influential Butler family, whose wealth was built upon the labor of the enslaved people who toiled on its fertile grounds. Though time has worn away its grandeur, the plantation's decaying structures still whisper of the lives once lived within its walls, lives marked by power, suffering, and tragedy. Today, the ruins are largely abandoned, visited only by the occasional historian, curious traveler, or thrill-seeker hoping to catch a glimpse of the spectral presence said to linger among the shadows. The air around Butler Green is thick with an eerie stillness, as if the land itself remembers the horrors that unfolded there. The skeletal remains of the main house stretch toward the sky like a warning, its shattered windows and sagging roof hinting at the devastation wrought by both time and tragedy. Surrounding the ruins, towering live oaks stretch their gnarled branches across the landscape, their roots entwined with the past, their leaves murmuring secrets in the wind. The scent of damp earth and decaying wood lingers, mingling with the distant sounds of rustling reeds and unseen creatures lurking in the murky waters nearby. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels disturbingly thin. Local legend speaks of a woman whose anguished cries still echo through the night, her spirit forever bound to the land where her life met a gruesome end. Her story, woven into the fabric of the plantation's history, is one of love, betrayal, and unspeakable violence. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate grounds, the sense of unease deepens. Visitors speak of an overwhelming dread that settles over them as they approach, as though some unseen force watches from the darkness. Whether the hauntings are real or merely the product of collective imagination, none can deny that Butler Green exudes an undeniable sense of sorrow, a sorrow that refuses to be forgotten. The tragedy of love and betrayal in the waning years of the plantation's operation, when the Butler family's influence was beginning to wane, the estate was overseen by Richard Butler, a man of considerable wealth and pride. His wife, Eleanor, was known throughout the region for her beauty and refinement, a woman raised in privilege and accustomed to the life of a Southern aristocrat. Their marriage, though arranged for social and financial gain, was initially marked by mutual respect, if not deep passion. However, As the years passed, Richard's attention drifted elsewhere, drawn to the quiet allure of Clara, a young enslaved woman who worked in the plantation house. Clara, though bound in servitude, possessed a grace and intelligence that captivated those who encountered her, and Richard, despite the rigid constraints of his position, could not resist the pull of her presence. Eleanor, ever watchful, soon became aware of her husband's infidelity. What began as whispered suspicions soon solidified into undeniable truths. Glances exchanged in the halls, hurried conversations in the garden, the subtle signs that spoke of a love that should never have been. Consumed by jealousy and rage, Eleanor confronted Richard, but he dismissed her concerns, claiming that such affairs were not uncommon among men of his station. His words, rather than soothing her anguish, only deepened her torment. In her mind, Clara was not merely an unfortunate victim of circumstance but a temptress who had stolen what was rightfully hers. And so, in the dead of night, Eleanor acted upon her fury. Clara vanished without a trace one evening, her absence at first attributed to an escape attempt. But whispers soon spread among the enslaved workers, of a scream heard in the distance, of blood-stained earth near the edge of the swamp. Eleanor, overcome with guilt and madness, fled into the marshes herself, her mind unraveling beneath the weight of what she had done. Days later, her body was found in the murky waters, torn apart by the gators that lurked beneath the surface. Some claimed she had been driven to the swamp by her own guilt, while others believed Clara's spirit had exacted a final vengeance, dragging Eleanor into the depths. Her death did not bring peace to Butler Green. Instead, it marked the beginning of the haunting that would become legend. Locals spoke of strange occurrences, doors slamming shut in empty rooms, shadowy figures glimpsed through shattered windows, and most chillingly, the sound of a woman's screams echoing through the night air. Over time, the story of Eleanor's jealousy and Clara's tragic fate became a cautionary tale, passed down through generations. Some believed Eleanor's spirit remained trapped at Butler Green, doomed to relive her crime for eternity, while others insisted it was Clara who cried out, her voice forever calling for justice. Whether truth or myth, the tragedy left an indelible mark upon the land, ensuring that Butler Green would never be forgotten. The haunting of Butler Green. Visitors to Butler Green often describe an immediate and overwhelming sense of dread as they step onto the plantation grounds, as if an unseen force weighs heavily upon their very souls. The air feels unnaturally thick, pressing against the skin like a suffocating fog, and even the most skeptical find themselves glancing over their shoulders, half expecting to see something lurking just beyond their field of vision. The ruins, already steeped in decay and desolation, seem to pulse with an energy that chills the blood, a lingering sorrow that refuses to dissipate. It is said that the deeper one ventures into the heart of the plantation, the stronger the sensation becomes, as though the land itself remembers the horrors that transpired there. Then comes the scream. Without warning, a blood-curdling shriek pierces the silence, shattering the stillness like breaking glass. Some claim it begins as a distant wail, carried on the wind like a mournful echo of the past, while others insist it erupts from the very earth beneath their feet, raw and unrelenting. Those who have heard it describe it as something unnatural, too high-pitched, too full of anguish to belong to any living person. And then, just as suddenly as it appears, the scream vanishes, leaving behind an eerie hush that feels almost more unsettling than the noise itself. Following the scream, the sound of splashing water often disturbs the quiet, as if something, or someone, is moving through the murky swamp just beyond the ruins. Some visitors have reported feeling the distinct sensation of being watched, as though unseen eyes follow their every movement. Others claim to hear whispers carried on the wind, unintelligible yet filled with sorrow and rage. And then there are those who see her, the spectral figure of a woman in a tattered white gown, standing motionless at the edge of the marsh, her face obscured by shadows. She does not move, does not speak, but those who lock eyes with her say they feel a coldness spread through their bodies, as if death itself has brushed against them. Encounters with the unknown. One of the most chilling accounts of paranormal activity at Butler Green comes from a group of college students who ventured to the ruins on a humid summer night. Armed with nothing more than flashlights and a recorder, they had hoped to document any unusual sounds or sensations. As they stood near the remnants of the main house, the air suddenly turned icy despite the warmth of the evening. One of the students, Megan, recalled hearing a faint whisper that seemed to come from all around them. "It wasn't words exactly," she later described. "Just this feeling of something trying to communicate, but it was so full of despair that I couldn't bear to listen." Moments later, a piercing scream tore through the night, so loud and sudden that the group instinctively froze in terror. When they turned to flee, they noticed the sound of splashing water echoing from the nearby marsh, though no one was visible in the murky darkness. The group left hastily, later reviewing their recording and discovering a distorted voice that repeated a single word: "Help!" Perhaps the most inexplicable incident occurred in 2002, when a local historian named James Delaney claimed to have seen the apparition of the woman in white. While researching the plantation's history, Delaney had spent the day documenting the ruins and returned at dusk to finish his notes. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he noticed a figure standing at the edge of the swamp, her silhouette illuminated by the fading light. Thinking it was a fellow visitor, he called out to her, but the figure did not respond. As he approached, she turned to face him, revealing only a shadow where her features should have been. Overcome by an overwhelming sense of fear, Delaney fled the site and later swore he could hear splashing water chasing him as he ran. These accounts, among others, have cemented Butler Green's reputation as one of the most haunted locations in the region. Whether the phenomena are the result of residual energy tied to the plantation's tragic history or something more sinister, the experiences of those who have visited suggest that the screaming woman's presence is far from mere folklore. The psychology of fear. Why we believe in ghosts. The legend of the screaming woman at Butler Green is not merely a tale of supernatural horror. It is a testament to the human mind's intricate relationship with fear, belief, and the unknown. Across cultures and generations, ghost stories have persisted, fueled by our deepest anxieties and the universal fear of death. The haunting of Butler Green taps into this primal fear, intertwining historical tragedy with supernatural folklore to create a narrative that feels both plausible and deeply unsettling. But why do people continue to believe in such hauntings, even in an age of scientific advancement? The answer lies in the psychology of fear, the power of suggestion, and the way our minds construct meaning from the unknown. One of the primary reasons ghost stories endure is the human tendency to attribute agency to ambiguous stimuli, a phenomenon known as pareidolia. Our brains are wired to recognize patterns, particularly those resembling human faces or figures, even in random shapes or shadows. This cognitive bias explains why visitors to Butler Green might interpret a fleeting movement among the trees as the spectral figure of a woman in white, or why a sudden gust of wind through the ruined structures could be misheard as a distant scream. Additionally, the expectation of encountering something supernatural can heighten perception, making even the most rational individuals more susceptible to interpreting ordinary events as paranormal. When visitors arrive at Butler Green expecting to feel dread or hear a ghostly wail, their heightened senses and anticipation prime them to experience precisely that. Beyond cognitive biases, the legend of the screaming woman also thrives on cultural narratives surrounding guilt, justice, and unresolved trauma. The story of Eleanor Butler and Clara is one of betrayal, murder, and a violent death, elements that resonate deeply with the human psyche. Psychologists suggest that we are drawn to tales of unfinished business, where the dead remain tethered to the world of the living due to emotional turmoil or injustice. The idea that Eleanor's spirit is doomed to relive her crime, or that Clara's voice cries out for vengeance, provides a sense of moral order to an otherwise senseless tragedy. In this way, the haunting becomes more than just a ghost story. It serves as a cautionary tale, reinforcing societal fears about betrayal, jealousy, and the consequences of one's actions. Furthermore, the collective nature of belief plays a significant role in sustaining the legend. When multiple individuals report similar experiences, whether it be hearing screams in the night or witnessing shadowy figures, their accounts reinforce one another, lending credibility to the supernatural explanation. This shared belief creates a feedback loop, when new visitors arrive expecting to witness paranormal activity, and in turn, their own experiences, whether real or imagined, contribute to the ongoing mythos. Whether the screaming woman is a genuine apparition or a manifestation of collective fear, the legend of Butler Green persists because it speaks to something fundamental within us: the need to make sense of the unknown, to find meaning in tragedy, and to believe that the past is never truly gone. Echoes of the past, whispers of the unseen. The legend of the screaming woman at Butler Green is more than a tale of ghosts and hauntings. It is a reflection of history's enduring grip on the present. The tragedy that unfolded within the plantation's decaying walls was not merely a personal drama of love and betrayal, but a microcosm of the larger forces that shaped the American South. The rigid hierarchies of power, the brutal realities of slavery, and the deep-seated emotions of those who lived and died within these grounds all contributed to a story that refuses to fade. Whether Eleanor Butler's spirit truly wanders the ruins or if the legend is simply a manifestation of collective memory, the haunting endures because it speaks to something universal: the inability of the past to remain buried. Butler Green stands as a silent witness to history, a place where sorrow and injustice converged and left an indelible mark. The stories told about the screaming woman serve not only as a ghostly warning but also as a means of reckoning with the darker chapters of the past. They remind us that history is not confined to books and records but lingers in the landscapes we walk, in the places that bear witness to human suffering and resilience. Even as the plantation crumbles further into ruin, the legend persists, carried forward by those who dare to listen for the echoes of the past. Yet, perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the haunting is not the possibility of a vengeful spirit or a ghost trapped in eternal torment, but the realization that some mysteries may never be solved. The South's unquiet spirits. As we bring this journey through the South's haunted plantations to a close, one truth becomes undeniable: these estates are more than just relics of the past. They are monuments to joy, loss, and the thin veil between worlds. From the wails of the enslaved at Laura Plantation to the vengeful whispers of Butler Island, these locations remind us that history is not always confined to books. The South's plantations are steeped in stories of betrayal, murder, and injustice, stories that refuse to be forgotten. Whether you believe in the supernatural or simply respect the weight of history, one thing is certain: the spirits of the South are watching, waiting, and for some, still seeking justice. So, as you step away from this tale, we invite you to share your own experiences. Have you visited one of these haunted plantations? Have you felt the chill of something unseen or heard the faint strains of a ghostly melody? Drop your stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from fellow explorers who have felt the pull of the forgotten. And if you enjoyed this journey through the South's most haunted plantations, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another spine-chilling adventure. Until next time, remember, the past is never truly gone. It lingers in the rustle of magnolia leaves, in the flicker of candlelight, and in the whispers carried by the southern breeze. For those who dare to listen, the stories of the South's haunted plantations are far from over. Safe travels, and may the shadows never follow you home.